fun wherever you want. This is the channel that brings you your latest news and information as far as everything is really concerned. And we're here to obviously break down how Arsenal were crowned Premier League champions. Amidst us knowing it on Tuesday, on Tuesday night, after Arsenal went ahead to obviously after Man City lost to Burnley, we obviously had to understand what it's really going to be like for the club of Arsenal. But remember, Arsenal had already gone ahead to do the job, on Monday by beating Burnley by 2-1. That is it. So, Moki 254, you excited for Arsenal win? Obviously, everyone is really super excited for Arsenal win, and indeed, they are the champions of the Premier League season of 2025-2026, and no one at any point will obviously not feel like Arsenal has to be the team rewarded to win the trophy. And you might be seated there and not be accepting that Arsenal really deserve to be the champions. But indeed, I tell you, it looks like it's not going to be the same again. Arsenal have gone ahead to obviously write what we call the Premier League history. 22 years later, they've been crowned the champions of England, and no one doubts that. And one of the most trending portals that has gone ahead to obviously speak volumes in this title reward is this. Let me obviously try to find it. This photo has spoke volumes, and everyone has gone ahead to comment about it. And I think it does not only reflect how things are in real life, but also a motivation to very many people who know what this is all about. A moment, let me get back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. I had some little bit of chalks in there for you, and they couldn't obviously allow me bring you some proper presentation. Now, I was talking about this photo of Bukayo Saka that has gone ahead to obviously make big trends. Guys, let me tell you this. In December 16th, 2020, Saka went ahead and posted that you Arsenal fans deserve more. You get? Now, 6 years later, the same Saka has gone ahead to obviously post with the same pose, but some things are really different. One, look, in this photo, Saka had lost it all. He had lost the hope, right? Now, here, he's having a smile and a Premier League trophy alongside him. That is Bukayo Saka for you. And indeed, he has gone ahead to lift what we call the Premier League trophy. And that photo has made huge trends all over social media. On the post of Arsenal, on the photo on the side of Arsenal, it has gone ahead to make huge rounds, and it has registered 1.3 million views so far in the hours, it has already been there. So it shows you that it is speaking volumes to the club of Arsenal, and they've gone ahead to obviously find themselves in a position of really winning the league. And what a better way to obviously win this one, and they've gone ahead to win it in a particular style. And what makes this so sweet, guys? What has gone ahead to obviously make this so sweet is, one, Pep has left Man City in a sombre board. I tell you, Pep would have gone ahead to want to leave Man City on a high with a Premier League trophy or a Champions League trophy. But I tell you what, he has left with only a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup in his cabin. That is it. He has not left with a Premier League. Pep has not left with a Premier League or a Champions League. And the Carabao Cup and FA Cups don't describe how big a club is. You know, if you've been here for some time, you know what describes a big club. What describes a big club is a Premier League and a Champions League. And that's why when Arsenal came in through and obviously went ahead, obviously face off with a team called Man City at the finals of the Carabao Cup, and Arsenal went ahead to lose. Although I had gone ahead, obviously come up and obviously say that Arsenal would have gone ahead, obviously win. I told you, these trophies don't describe how big a club is. And I was like, this does not eclipse. Man City's win over Arsenal in the Carabao Cup didn't eclipse Arsenal's triumph in the Premier League and the Champions League. I said this should be used as a springboard for Arsenal to obviously fight hard and say, all right, in this one-off, you've beaten us, but let's see who will win the marathon. You understand? The marathon is the Premier League, and indeed Arsenal went ahead to outage Arsenal. Pep left with no Champions League, no Premier League, and I've seen people coming out and calling Pep the Premier League all greatest manager. And I'm like, do people read history? Guy, let me tell you, Mikel Arteta's trophy that he has lifted at Arsenal weighs more weight than any of the trophies that Pep Guardiola has gone ahead to lift at Man City. Why? Pep came in through when Man City has been winning the Premier Leagues. You know, I remember in the season of 2012, let me check here. Man City Premier League trophies. 2011, 2012, that's when Man City went ahead to lift its first Premier League title, right? They went ahead to win another one in 2013, 2014 when Sir Alex Ferguson left. You understand? Pep came in through in the season, I think, of 2016, right? Now, Pep came in through and he won his first Premier League title for Man City as Pep Guardiola 3 seasons later, because they had last won one in 2013, 2014. You understand? Now, Arteta comes in through at Arsenal and he wins the first Arsenal Premier League trophy after 22 years, right? Pep found a structure that has been built, and he was at Bayern Munich commanding for City to get in players that he wants to find there. Pep inherited a side that had already gone ahead to win Premier League trophies, right? And the main reason they brought him in was to see to it that this side lifts what we call the Champions League, something that took him years to really earn. But Arteta had to come in through 2020, rebuild this side of Arsenal again, and make it compete with Pep. And that rebuilding took him the season of 2020, 2021, 2022. In 2 seasons, Arteta started to compete with Pep. And in his 6th season as the manager of Arsenal, Pep has come in through and Arteta has come in through and out-edged Pep Guardiola. And people are trying to even compare Pep with Sir Alex Ferguson. You know, Arteta's trophy alone speaks volumes than what Pep has gone ahead to do at City. Pep came in through, had a very big budget to operate, right? And he came in through and obviously won. I think has gone ahead to win, 6 trophies in there? Because when you count 2027, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. 7 trophies. Coming through in 2016, has been here for 10 years. And in the 10 years, 10 seasons, he has found himself winning 7. Those 3, 2 have gone to Liverpool. You know, there is one of Leicester, right? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has won 6 trophies, 6 Premier League trophies. There is one that Leicester won, 2 that Liverpool have gone ahead to win, and 1 that Arsenal has gone ahead to win. And this one for Arteta, it's really uncomparable to Pep Guardiola. That is it. Now, let me get to the Ferguson question. Now, Sir Alex Ferguson came in from Aberdeen. Aberdeen is a Scotland team, a team that plays in the Scottish League. Now, the dominancy of Rangers and Celtic was broken by Sir Alex Ferguson, you know, at Aberdeen. That's what people try to forget. You understand? That dominancy was broken then at Aberdeen by Sir Alex at Aberdeen. Now, Manchester United brought in Sir Alex Ferguson when United had taken 20 years without winning a Premier League or a league trophy. Now, have you heard this? This is why I can equate Arteta's work he has gone ahead to do at Arsenal to the work that Ferguson did at Manchester United, because Ferguson came in through when United had gone ahead not to win a league trophy for 20 years, you know, and when he came in through, he was there. I think he came in through in 1986, right? And when he came in through in 1986, it took him 6 seasons also. Guys, hear me out. Hear me out. It has taken Arteta 6 seasons since he came in through to win his first trophy. Now, Sir Alex Ferguson took 6 seasons to win his first Premier League trophy, and that was in 1992-1993. Remember, he came in through in 1986. Arteta came in through in 2020, right? Because it was December, you know, and 6 years later, the guy is lifting a Premier League trophy. These are managers who have gone ahead to find teams that have taken decades without lifting a trophy, and they needed to rebuild these squads to obviously start winning. What Arteta has done for the club of Arsenal is the exact thing that Sir Alex Ferguson had to do at the club of Manchester United. And I tell you, if Arteta is to win like more trophies for the club of Arsenal in the Premier League, he will out-erase, or he will eclipse the success of Pep Guardiola. I tell you this. Why am I saying that? Because these people, Ferguson and Arteta, came in through, because by the time Arteta came in through at the club of Arsenal, right, it had taken how many years? 2004, 2020. Arsenal had taken 16 years without lifting a Premier League trophy. That's when Arteta came in through. Sir Alex Ferguson, when United had taken 20 seasons, you know. Now, can you compare Sir Alex Ferguson, who came in through at Manchester United after managing Aberdeen, came in through in England, you know, managed Manchester United, you know, with a small budget, and saw them win 13 Premier League titles, you know. Pep Guardiola has never been to a club like Aberdeen. No way. You understand? He was at Barcelona, and most of the players, Barcelona had already had big players, and he found the following players by then in his squad. Guys, let's compare the squads that Pep found. Now, let me read to you Arteta's first Arsenal squad in 2019. Let's read it. We are also going to be reading that of Pep Guardiola, right? Now, In Arteta's first game, this was his starting 11, right? He had Bernard Leno in goal, Maitland-Niles in the right back, Saka as the left back, David Luiz as the left-sided centre-back, Papastropoulos, right-sided centre-back, Granit Xhaka, and Torreira were playing the double pivot. Mesut Ozil playing as a 10, Aubameyang, left attacking midfielder, Reiss Nelson, right attacking midfielder, Lacazette was playing as a centre forward, leading the line. Now, in all this, I even want to get, where can I get even the bench? And in that game, it ended in a 1-1 draw in there for you. You get? And he was playing which team? He was playing Bournemouth. You know? Let's see. Arsenal 1. Bournemouth 1. Let's check these lineups, guys. In 2019. All right. I want to see the substitutes that Arteta really had. You know, Arteta had on the bench. Arteta had the bench had Emiliano Martinez, Mavropanos, Emily Smith-Rowe, and Matteo Guendouzi. That's the bench that Arteta really had. Now, let's obviously get to Pep first Barcelona game. Because Pep's first game, you know, he went ahead, he played it it was in the UEFA Champions League. That's when he came in through. Lineup. Let's talk about the squad. Pep's first squad. Let's look out for it, you know, because we want to speak with facts, guys, in here. Now, he out. This is Pep Guardiola's first game. He managed it on the August of 13th, 2008 in the UEFA Champions League, third qualifying round. Pep had Victor Valdez in goal. Right back was Dani Alves. Left back was Eric Abida. Gerard Piqué and Carlos Puyo were playing in the central defense. Midfielders, Yaya Toure, Xavi Hernandez, and Seydou Keita. All these are top players. Forwards, Iniesta, Samuel Eto'o Fields, and Thierry Henry. All right? Then, he had Edu Gudjohnsen on the bench, Alexander Heleb from Arsenal, you know him, Bojan Kacic. Ozabayal was there, Martin Carrasco, Rafael Marquez was there, and Pedro Rodriguez. Have you heard the squad that Pep really had, you know? And now you're comparing it to the Maitland-Niles, you know? Guys, don't even start, you know? Now, Sir Alex Ferguson, let's look out for Sir Alex Ferguson's first squad at Manchester United. Let's look out to this and see. Ferguson had the following. He found Gary Bailey and Chris Turner. Those are the goalkeepers. The defenders, Arthur Abitson, Mick Duxbury, Paul McGrath, Kevin Moran, Grammy Hogg, John Silverback, Clayton Blackmore. Midfielders, Brian Robson, this one was good. Gordon Strachan was good. Remy Moses Jesper, Peter Barnes, and Mark Higgins. Forwards, Frank Steplon, Peter Devonot, and Norman Whiteside. Now, He went ahead to really revolutionize this team to this side, you know? To this side that went ahead to obviously win the Premier League, right? Now, from those players that I've gone ahead to read you, he managed to obviously have the following. He went ahead and built to have Peter Schmeichel in goal, Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, Dennis Elwin, Paul Parker, Clayton Barkmore. Midfielders, he had Ryan Giggs, Paul Ince, Brian Robson, Lee Sharp, Black McNair, Darren Ferguson, Mike Phelan. You understand? And the forwards, he had Eric Cantona, Dion Dublin, Mark Robbins, and Mark Hughes. Now, there is no way you can compare Pep with Alex Ferguson. Is really levels to this guy. That's why I'm telling you, if Arteta stays at Arsenal, he's obviously going to turn out to be a very good guy. Now, Arteta has gone ahead to transform Arteta's first Arsenal squad. You know? Now, he has gone ahead to transform from the following people. From Bernard Leno to David Raya, right? From Ainsley Maitland-Niles to Julian Timber. Bukayo Saka was played as a left back, and now they are having Hincapie or Ricardo Carafiori. Central defense, from David Luiz to Gabriel Magalhães, both Brazilians but with different attributes in the game. Then you can talk about Papas Thoropoulos, you know, to Saliba. Midfielders, from Torreira to Zubimendi, from Gwanti Xhaka to Declan Rice, from Mesut Ozil to Odegaard, from Reece Nelson to Bukayo Saka, from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Leandro Trossard, and from Lacazette to a player known as Gyökeres. Now, if you are to speak, I think in this team that Arteta managed at first before he went through his first summer transfer window, it's only Mesut Ozil and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang that get into this Arsenal team. That is it. If you are to do a combined 11, you know, Arteta's first team at Arsenal versus the team that is going to win the Premier League, it's only one player that comes in through. But for Pep, he had the Messis when he came in through at Man City. Let me read to you the squad of Pep that he won at City. You know, Pep, Guardiola's first Man City squad. You're going to hear names, you guys. In goal, he had Willy Caballero. Now, he had Barkley Sanya, John Stones, Kolarov, Gal Clichy. Midfield, Fernandinho. Are you hearing? David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. He had world-class players. You know, when Arteta came in through, in his team had only two world-class players, Mesut Ozil and a player known as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Right? Now, forwards, Raheem Sterling, you know that very well, Nolito, Sergio Aguero. And he went ahead to obviously get in Ika Gundogan. He had Yaya Toure, Leroy Sen, Vincent Kompany. This team had already gone ahead to lift a league, right? This team had already gone ahead to win a league. So I find it very funny for anyone to obviously start comparing the triumphs of these two managers. I tell you, the triumph of Arteta holds more water than the triumph of Pep, because Pep found an organized team, you know? And I would obviously blame him, you know, for one, not winning immediately. Because he had a team that could win. That is it. You understand? So, I want to let you know that this win was really very sweet. You know, 2016, 2017, he was supposed to win immediately. That is it. That's what I tell you. So, he went ahead to win the next season, 2017-2018. But he had a beautiful squad that was ready to obviously come in through and obviously win. But I don't downplay his efforts, but indeed, I think Arteta has done a wonderful job than Arteta. But why I have to give him his flowers is because of really scouting Arteta and his whole a good character of him being a very good manager. That is it. Now, Moki 254, I'm so excited for Arsenal win. All right. Sendagire says, hello, brother. Thanks for everything. All right. Then Muhima says, we are the Gunners. Thanks for the update, Mr. RD. You're really doing a great job. We appreciate you so much for giving us information, though you were a United fan. All right. Sendagire, let's congratulate all Arsenal fans from this success. Hopefully it pushes us to another new chapter and strengthen our character. David Sozi says, thanks, bro, in the F for you. And Galga Dido is also watching in through. Now, yesterday, Arsenal went ahead to beat Crystal Palace by 2-1. And in the 41st minute, Gabriel Jesus went ahead to obviously score the opener. And 2 minutes in the second half, Noni Madueke scored a goal from the set piece. And that meant that Arsenal was going ahead to score 19 goals from corners this season. That is Arsenal this season, firing up from all corners and putting out a fight that no one will ever even want to think about. Then in the 88th minute, Mateta pulled one back for Crystal Palace that saw another goal that was scored by Remy Pino, disallowed because of the deflection from a Crystal Palace player that was really offside. That is it. And Arsenal completed the season with 85 points in there. Man City lost to Aston Villa, and it ended to 1, and Man City ended with 78 points in there for you. Gabriel Jesus scoring that goal, went ahead to see him score his third Premier League goal of the Premier League season. That is it. And he had 0 assists. When you go to Madueke Noni, Noni Madueke, 3 Premier League goals and 1 assist in 26 matches for the club of Arsenal. That is really great. So, that is Arsenal for you. They've gone ahead, obviously, lift the Premier League trophy after beating that team. But the job is not yet done. The job has just gone ahead to start because they have to climax their season on a high. On Saturday, they are playing a team known as PSG. PSG is a side that has obviously won the previous Champions League, beating Inter Milan by 5-0 in there. Now, they are facing Arsenal. Something that we had to obviously discuss in here on our beautiful channel. But all in all, Arsenal is doing the due diligence here to see to it that they put out a very huge fight in there on Saturday. And this entire week, we will obviously be climaxing club football competitions, and we'll be resorting to what we call the big World Cup coming in through starting on the 11th of June. Kleiner say, trust me, this Arsenal trajectory is the one which has kept Ancelotti on the job. Many clubs will try to emulate this managerial style. Obviously, I've said this. My number one reason as to why I wanted Arteta to win the league is that to play safe for my manager at Man United who go by names of Michael Carrick. Because if Arteta didn't win, what will be the reason for a team like Man United, Liverpool, and so many more to obviously keep waiting? You understand? You had no reason you could give them to wait for a manager. But right now, you have a very sounding reason to obviously table out, as to why you want your team to obviously come in through and obviously win. You understand? So, all I want to let you know is simple. The club of Arsenal has done its job. And Arteta will save jobs of many because he has obviously failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. But finally, he has gone ahead to deliver in a very wonderful way. And I just congratulate the people at Arsenal and Arteta for being an amazing coach, and the people at Arsenal for trusting him. Let me look out for this post. One of the statements that very many Arsenal fans never really gave a lot of attention to detail was this, coming in through from the Kroenkes, right? They made this statement in 2019 when Arteta took the job. And this statement spoke volumes as to why they want to keep this guy. I want to find it here and read it to you because it really speaks volumes as to why the Kroenkes went ahead to stand in with Mikel Arteta. To an extent that even when this season looked like Arsenal was off the grip, they had already gone ahead to start negotiating on a new contract. Although people thought that they're awarding him a new contract because of winning this, that's not the case. They are awarding him a new contract because it was already in the pipeline. Now, for the Arsenal fans who are like, they should sack Mikel Arteta, he should leave the club. I was like, where are you going to get a manager like Mikel Arteta? Where are you going to get one? Because you fire Arteta today, he either goes to Barcelona, Madrid, or Man City, or Man United, Liverpool. All those clubs wanted him. Now, that means if you have a manager and other clubs need him, no reason for obviously sacking him. Now, this is the statement that Kroenke made in 2020 in the first season of Arteta. It was Josh Kroenke to Mikel Arteta in 2020 when Arsenal were sitting in the bottom half of the table. You understand, when he came in through, they couldn't obviously get anywhere better. They won the FA Cup. And as Arteta went ahead to start his season of 2020-2021, Kroenke told him that the only people you can trust are the ones in the room with you right now. Trust me, I believe in you. That's what he told him. And 6 years later, they are both standing on Emirates pitch together with Arsenal on the cups of glory. Now, guys, this is exactly what we are talking about. You have to give Arteta his flowers. And by the way, Arteta, if you're giving him his flowers, then you don't have to forget a person called the Kroenkes, because they told him the only people you can trust are the ones in the room with you right now. Trust me, I believe in you. That's what Josh Kroenke told Arteta in 2022 when things looked like they are not gonna work out for Mikel. As Arsenal fans were like, he should be sacked. The Kroenkes told him, we trust you. We trust you and don't trust anyone else apart from this guy. You understand? So, these guys believed in him. Very many Arsenal fans, I heard, you all know Kosi. He runs a YouTube channel known as Kosi, the Kosi Arsenal podcast. He was one of those who used to say, sack the guy. Sack the guy. And I was like, no way, I'm not sacking him. I told him, you should trust the process, and many, this is where people get it wrong. This is where people get it wrong, You have to, why I do combined 11s every time these big teams are going to face one another. It's for you fans to obviously do the evaluation that how many players of your team get into the starting 11 of the opponent's team. For example, let me tell you, in 2020, Arteta went ahead to bring in Willian. He brought in Gabriel Magalhaes. I think Tomiyasu came in through. Who else? Not really. Don't really. Let's check out the first signings of Arteta. First Arsenal summer transfer window 2020. All I know, Gabriel Magalhaes coming through. Willian coming through. So these are the players that he brought in through in his first window. Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid, £45 million. Gabriel Magalhaes from Lille, £27 million. Willian joined from Chelsea on a free. Alex Ranasson, backup goalkeeper. Pablo Mari and Cedric Soares made their loan moves from Flamengo and Southampton respectively, and they were later made permanent. Dani Ceballos rejoined Arsenal from a loan. Now, this was the team of Arteta in 2020-2021 season, right? And in goal, he had Bernard Leno, right? Right back, I think he had Cedric Soares. Left back, I think it was Kian Tierney, if I'm not mistaken. Now, in the central defense, Gabriel Magalhaes was partnering with who? 2020, 2021 Arsenal lineup. All right. So, he also had Hector Bellerin in there. So sometimes he could play Hector Bellerin, So, he had Thomas Partey in the midfield. He had Grant Xhaka there. Emily Smith-Rowe, Odegaard joining on non-playing as a number 10. Willian left forward. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in there for you. Right? So, even Saka was playing as a right forward. Now, let's compare this team to the side of Manchester City. City had Ederson in goal. If you do combined 11, how many Arsenal players could get into that team? I think it was only Partey and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. That is it. It was only Thomas Partey and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang that could comfortably get into that City side. So it shows you that by then, when Arteta came in through, only 2 Arsenal players could come into what we call the combined 11. Now, by the time we came to this season, how was it? The combined 11 was as follows. In goal, David Raya. Right back, Timber. Left back, I could go Carafiori. That is it. In the central defense, obviously, it is, I go Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba. Look, 6 seasons back, Arsenal couldn't have any of their 5 defenders in the combined 11. As we speak right now, Arsenal is having 5. We go to the midfield. Obviously, I go Rodri. I pick Rodri over Zubimendi. Then I put Declan Rice, Chucky has looked good this season. I put Chucky ahead of Martin Odegaard. Bukayo Saka as a right forward. Left forward, Semenyo, I think has beaten every Arsenal guy in there for you. Leading the line, Erling Haaland. Now that means City had Haaland, Chucky, Semenyo, Rodri. Only 4 players, and Arsenal has 7. So, the moment you start to do a combined 11, and you see to it that your team has more players than the other team's players, then you get to know that your team is obviously getting there, slowly by slowly. Now, that's what Arsenal really used to do, and indeed, they got there. Now, those are the processes of really seeing a team get to where they are, and I love Arsenal, that is it. I don't support it, but I love what the Kroenkes did. Believing in the manager, giving him what he deserves, to me, nothing beats that. I tell you, nothing beats that. You understand? Nothing beats that. Now, I do have Otabong says, thanks RD for the updates. Wish the best of luck to all Arsenal fans and players for the final of the Champions League this Saturday. That is it. We do have Abdu says, always Gunners from Malawi, the warm heat of Africa. All right, thank you. Watching us from Malawi. Smash the like button close to 100, guys. It's only 19, you guys. Obonyao Wilson, hello Rokani. Do you see Arsenal also dominating the league for 3 years or not? Guys, Arsenal is going to dominate. That is it. I tell you, they might not dominate like Arteta, but I think they might be worth a trophy in every 3 seasons. A big trophy. And next season, you can't tell me that the favorites are not Arsenal. Why? Arsenal are not going to act like Liverpool. I've never seen a team that wins the league and loses all those players. For example, Liverpool lifted the Premier League, and guess what? They sold the following players. You know, Liverpool players sold last summer. Luis Diaz, he went to Bayern Munich, and you see where Bayern Munich was. Diaz has been one of those high-scoring players in the Bundesliga and in the Champions League, right? Darwin Nunez, not a starter, but would have gone ahead to be a very good squad player. And you know his contribution in there for you. Now, for me, the most disappointing of all was Quanch. Quanch partnered with Virgil van Dijk for the vast majority of the season, and they had a very good partnership together. And I thought that Liverpool had gone ahead to get themselves a very good player in Quanch. You get? But they sold him. You know? They sold him and they let him go. Trent Alexander-Arnold left for free, though they had to get 10 million euros from Real Madrid because he was supposed to play for Real Madrid before his contract ended. You understand? In the FIFA Club World Cup. You know? So, that is what Liverpool went ahead to do. And to me, it was not really good. So, you can't lose out those players. And Arsenal is showing you that they are not losing any players. They are not losing players that are really very impactful. The players they're willing to let go are Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, Nogard, Ben White, Jakub Kivio, Fabio Vieira, Ethan Nwaneri. You get? Those are 6, 7, 8 players they are willing to let go. You understand? And as these players leave, here out their replacements. For Gabriel Jesus, they want to replace him with Julian Alvarez, and that's an upgrade. You understand? An upgrade and a finished article. For Gabriel Martinelli, they are looking at Nico Williams, Anthony Gordon, they are looking at Kivisha Kvaratskhelia, Osman Dembele, Rafinha. Look at the names Arsenal are looking at. Those names are really world class and better than these. You understand? Now, for Nogard, here who they are bringing in. Arsenal are looking out for the following. Arsenal are going in for Sandro Tonali, one. You know, they are looking at midfielders like, who else? There are very many midfielders they're looking at, but they want Sandro Tonali first. You understand? There is Elliott, another one. So, all of those are going to be upgrades. So, Arsenal might bring in like 5 players. You know, they need to get in a right back, and they're looking at Livramento and who else? Right backs Arsenal targeting. All players they're bringing through are really upgrades onto their squad. So, Arsenal is only adding to what they are having. They're not obviously taking off. You know, Liverpool spent badly and stupidly. That's why they never really went ahead to really dominate. But asking me that, do you see Arsenal dominating the league for 3 years? Or I see Arsenal dominating the league. That is it. I don't know for how long, but they're obviously going to dominate because Arteta is adopting what we call the Pep policy. The Pep policy was, don't sell your most valuable player. That is it. And for any player, he has to be having a backup who obviously competes with that player, meaning that the competitive levels keep continuing because players are really fighting for positions, right? That is it. So, I tell you what, Arsenal are really a good team and they are good to go. That is it. So, I miss Kosi, Arsenal podcast. Where is he, Rokani? I think Kosi is there, but looks like he's no longer into these things of really doing content. That is it. I think he's busy with studies and so on and so forth. Clay in Liverpool's most of the signings were a downgrade. Yeah, they were downgrade. You get. But Arsenal is going for upgrades. And look at Mikel-Arteta. Every season, he has gone in for an upgrade. You right? When he brought in the Williams, the Gabriel Magalhães, the Odegaards, do you know what he did in the summer of 2021? He went in for Ben White, Aaron Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, who else? You know, he brought in those. After bringing those, 2022, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira. 2023, there you go. A Declan Rice came in, you know. Declan Rice came in. I think Declan Rice is 2024, right? 2023, the sum of 2023. Which players? I think that's when Kai Havertz came in through, you know. Let me check here. Arsenal summer signings of 2023. Now, yeah, that's when Declan Rice came in through. They brought in Declan Rice. They brought in Kai Havertz. They brought in Julian Timber. And they brought in David Raya. Right? All those are upgrades from what they had. Declan Rice was an upgrade of Granit Xhaka. Right? Kai Havertz was an upgrade of who really left there, you know, because he is a multi-dimensional player. Timber was an upgrade of Ben White. David Raya, pure upgrade of a guy known as Aaron Ramsdale. Right? Now, we get to the summer transfer window, you know, of 2024. That is when he brought in the likes of Riccardo Carafiori, right? You know, he brought in Riccardo Carafiori, Mikel Merino, Raheem Sterling on loan from Chelsea, Neto on loan. But we're talking about permanent signings. He brought in two, Mikel Merino and Riccardo Carafiori, and they never did more business. But you see all those players, they are really upgrades because Carafiori is really great, you know. Now, we go to the season, not even the season, the career-defining summer transfer season of Mikel Arteta under Andre Bartha, you know. Zubimendi, to me, is an upgrade on Thomas Partey. That is it. You go for Gyökeres, an upgrade of Edin Ketia and Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is good, but he's not available, right? Eze, obviously an upgrade to the players that hasn't really had. Noni Madueke, an upgrade to the second fiddle player that this man really had. And who am I talking about? Talking about a player called what is his name? What is his name? You know. Then we talked about Eze, talk of Mosquera, Hinkapie, Kepa Zebalaga, guys, Norgard Christian, a good backup, you know. So all those players were upgrades of what Arsenal really had. That is it. So I don't want to hear anyone say that Arsenal won't dominate. And I tell you, they are going to go hard and they're going to bring in players that you guys don't even think they can even land. But things have gone ahead to change. The dynamics are no longer the same. And I tell you, this Arsenal can dominate the season, can dominate the Premier League for some long time. So smash the like button close to 100 times, guys. Please do the needful. Only having 21 likes on this video. Smash it like no other. Why shouldn't Arsenal go for Mbappe to play on the left wing, guys? Can I give you a story at Manchester United? I do have a manager known as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who many underrated. But I think he had gone ahead to obviously do well for the club of Man United. That is it. Because he had built his team, and I tell you, in this season of 2021, 2022 when it was starting, it was hard for anyone to really not include Manchester United in as far as the title race was concerned. Let's be real. I know there are very many Arsenal fans in here for you, but in the season of 2021, 2022 when it was starting, no one ruled out United. But I think a few gave Arsenal a nod because it was in its building stage, right? United had David De Gea in goal, Dalot and Aaron Bissaka as right backs, Luke Shaw as the left back and Alex Telles. Central defense, they had Varane. I think Eric Bailey was there. They had Maguire. And who was the other? There was another defender in there for you. Lindelof. Midfield, Nemanja Matic. United had Paul Ebile Pogba. We had Bruno Fernandes. We had Fred, Scott McTominay. Who else? Donny van de Beek. Now, we had Mason Greenwood. We had Amadi Diallo, Rashford, Anton Martial, Bruno Fernandes. We also had a player called Edson Cavani. Now, that team started on well, and they're really doing things on well, winning games in there. Now, guess who comes in through? Cristiano Ronaldo. When he came in through, the dressing room divided itself. You know, the English players were like, we do have Rashford this side. Paul Pogba had his cocoon, you know. Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo, Dalot also there. Mason Green also had his own cocoon. The manager lost the dressing room. Now, placing Kylian Mbappe in that team of Arsenal will obviously see Arteta lose the dressing room. So for me, I wouldn't advise Arsenal to bring in what we call the dressing room. Right? No way. No way. I wouldn't obviously recommend that. You understand? Why would I obviously recommend such? So, Kylian Mbappe to Arsenal for me, good player, world-class player, but you see what he has gone ahead to turn Real Madrid into, you know? Good player, but I wouldn't recommend a team like Arsenal to obviously bring him in because you saw what happened. When he left PSG, PSG went ahead to win the Champions League, and in the second season, they are playing into the final again. Something that they never achieved when they had Kylian Mbappe. And it's the Kvaratskhelia doing the needful. Let Arteta get in players that he can handle. You know, that stardom quality. I think Arteta has not reached that level of managing such players. You know, let him create his own world-class players, right? Klein says Frimpong was never better than Trent in a million years, as well as Kakezi compared to Robinson. Yes, you're right. You're right. But I think Kakezi, if he fits in very well, he can obviously beat Robertson. But so far, Robertson is a better player than Kakezi. But for Frimpong, the manager is really fidgeting around with him. Mubarak says, already big up, bro. While it is true that Arteta's, thanks to God for supporting, yeah, he did. He really did. Because crazy videos came from Kampala, Uganda, as in appreciation and celebration for Arsenal lifting the league. So he came up and obviously gave you flowers for the good work done. And it was really true. They are not lying. It was really true. That is it. Who else? Sai says RD will Arsenal win the Champions League. I'm coming up with that video, guys. Why are you really trying me to cross the bridge before reach it? Don't try to really unlock the envelope, before it's time of unleashing is really out. Get me right. On Friday or Thursday, we are dropping the match preview, and the prediction will be in. Wait for my prediction in there for you. Jalu Nguzi. True Rokani, Ghana fan from Malawi again. Thank you for watching him through. Now, Sese says, in Sierra Leone, a lot of Arsenal parade all over the country. We have been waiting for this for 22 years and we deliver. Yeah. But that has been as a reason of being patient. That's why they've been able to overturn this. You get? But without patience, Arsenal would have gone ahead of overturn this. Klein saying signing Saka and TK in the same window was also a miscalculation. They only needed one striker and sign a world-class player to replace Luis Diaz. That is it. And by the way, Luis Diaz, do you know why he left? He was earning £70,000 a week. And he was like, please, get me like 150,000 or 200,000 pounds a week. And I stand Liverpool, we are like, no way, we are not going anywhere near that. But Diaz had fit into that Liverpool system very well, and they needed him. Now, Wits, whom they spent 150 million euros on, look at what he's doing, guys. You're right, Klein. So, Arsenal is doing upgrades, not downgrades. And I tell you, they are gonna surprise you in this summer transfer window by getting in players that you also really say, yeah, they are really upgrades. And I told you, if Arsenal go in for a player who is cheap, those players of pure quality. Look at Hinkapie, Look at look at a player called Mosquera, yes. And when you look at how they're integrating these youngsters from the academy into this team. Look at Max Dowman, how good he's really performing. So, guys, Arsenal, it's gonna take people time to understand what they've gone ahead to obviously build. But I tell you, they are building a monster that will dominate the Premier League for some time. That is it. With them competing for the league, right? With them competing for the for the Champions League, that means Arsenal will find themselves in a position of being able to put in a very huge shift in there, and they'll be making in money. Now, do you know that in 2029, the FIFA Club World Cup is obviously gonna be back on, right? And clubs from all over the world will meet. I tell you, the first edition, the winner was supposed to go with $100 million, right? Now, where we are, 4 years later, it might even be $150 million or $200 million. You understand? Now, Arsenal, in the next 4 years, these players they're really having would have gone to come of a level to win this. And if they add that amount of money to the spending budget they're really having, I tell you what, they'll turn into a very big team that is unstoppable. So, I don't see Arsenal failing to dominate the league because they're really doing right. Klein says if Mbappe had no ego like Messi or N'Golo Kante, this boy would fit to any club in Europe. In that left wing position, now he's aging 28 with no Champions League alarming. But I think he'll get it. He'll get it. And to me, it's just a matter of time. He'll win the Champions League. Mbappe Kylian will win the Champions League. Right? He will win the Champions League. And I know Real Madrid, in the next 2 or 3 seasons, they'll lift the Champions League. They will. They just have to obviously put themselves right. And I think Mourinho will obviously try to panel beat a little bit, and he'll try to compete for this. That is it. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. Rokan David has been my name. Thank you for everyone has been part of this live. Klein, Seisi, Jalalunguzi, Mubarak, Klein, Otabong. There was Abdul, there was Bonyali, there was Salam, Otabong was there, Klein, David Sozi, Gagladido, Muimane was there, Sendagi Ronald was there, Moki254 was there. And guys, thank you for being part of this live. And it has been nice talking to you. First video of the day, it was a live 1 hour live streaming and talking football. Now, I'm going to be coming back to obviously feed you with more news and information as far as everything is really concerned. But this is what we do. And keep it Rokani Media Football. I'm out.